In this video we're going to show how you can make the number of new record rows in a grid something that the user can dynamically set at runtime. So you can see here we have a very simple grid, and the grid is showing 3 new record rows, and that's because in the update settings in properties here we chose number of new record rows to show as 3. But a user sent in a request saying that they'd like to make the number of new record rows dynamic, and so this shows how you can actually do that. So you can see here we've put a select box above the grid, and if I go here now and choose, for example, 5, the grid now has 5 new record rows. If I go and choose 10, we have 10 new record rows, or 20, and then let's go back to 3 over there. So we're going to show now in this video how we actually went ahead and did that. So this HTML over here was put into a free-form edit region above the grid. So let's go take a look at that. So we'll go to properties over there, and then we'll click over there on the free-form edit region above the grid, and you can see that we have a simple HTML select that has choices of 1, 3, 5, 10 and 20, and the initial value that is shown in the select box is 3 because that's the property that we've set in the grid. We've given the select box a style of grid style select, so it looks good, and we've given it an ID of new records, and then we've said that in the onChange event we'd like to call the set new records JavaScript function, and then we've put a script tag directly in the freeform edit region, although we could just as easily have put this function in the JavaScript functions portion of the dialog component. So let's take a look now at what this function does. So the first thing that you can see is that it reads the value from this control by doing a get value single of the element that has an ID of new records, and then we create a JavaScript object called obj, and we set a property in that object called new records, and then we put this object into the set state info object that's in the grid component. So set state info is a method of the grid that's new in version 11, and it takes any properties that are inside an object that is passed in and stores them inside the grid object, so that that information now is persisted in the grid object, but more importantly anything that's inside the state info object gets sent back to the server on every single callback. So then we also just create a temporary variable, actually a permanent variable, a dummy variable inside the grid object that contains the number of rows, and then finally we cause an AJAX callback by doing a refresh. So this does an AJAX callback, it does a refresh, and when it does the refresh it's going to send back to the server the data that's inside the state info object. So it's going to be sending back the new records rows. So now basically when an AJAX callback takes place, a server-side event fires. So let's go look at the on-grid execute event, and the on-grid execute event fires after every single AJAX callback. And so here we're just testing to see whether the new record rows property got submitted from the server, and it would be because it's now been set in the when we call the set state info object. So we're checking to see whether that value has been sent back to us, and if it has, then we go and change the definition of the number of new rows to insert to whatever value was set over here, and that causes the number of rows that the grid displays to change. So let's pause now and talk about the one final tweak we had to do to make this all work.